Let's hear it for the Seaside Band. Way to go, guys. Thank you. Good morning. I'm Brian Atkins. I've been a practitioner here for 17 years at Seaside, and I'm now in ministerial school. And I will be doing your announcements this morning. However, before we do that, I want to bring out a very special practitioner. She has been a practitioner at Seaside for 6 years. She is a professional storyteller. She works a lot with the youth and tells them stories. She's also been in charge of the Practitioner Core Council. So, Patty Christensen. Yeah. All right, thank you. who may not be aware of it, the light holder at Seaside is a very important role. Patty will sit back there the entire service in trance and meditation, holding the consciousness for all of us. And so now I'm going to go through our announcements for today. We've got a lot. I've only got 5 minutes to go through it, so buckle your seatbelts. How many of you really like to get involved in the Christmas season? Well, we've got caroling coming up. Carrie Powell will be leading this group. We will be singing at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. And that will be on the December 8th and 13th, and we will have a rehearsal on November 30th at 1:30 p.m. in the Rose Room back here. Want to hang out with Seaside during Thanksgiving? We have a potluck ceremony and a regular service. I guess it's just a ceremony. If you want to find out more about that, talk to Dr. Christina Tillotson. Those of you who are interested in healing through the process of breath work, a wonderful practitioner on November 28th, I got their date wrong there, November 16th at 3 p.m. The cost is $30, and it will be led by practitioner Rebecca Berry. Want to expand your spiritual connection? Dr. Christian Sorensen is having a Wednesday night services now. So now you can add to your Sunday services by going on Wednesday night. That's a lot more of an internal, going within type of service. Do you enjoy growing and harvesting your own organic food? Do you like to help out the teens at Seaside? If you do, on the first and third Sunday of the month, Harvest Harmony will have a table in the family room. I encourage you to go back there if that interests you and contribute to them. It's outside today. Thank you very much. Get your yoga fix on. We have instructor chair yoga on Thursdays at 1 p.m. It's led by Lori Bellevue, and there is a $10 charge. Want to meditate to singing bowls and gongs and more? Tomorrow night, I believe it's here in the Seaside Sanctuary, at 7 o'clock, we have deep sound meditation. And here are the things that are going on today. Lunch will be available for purchase in the family room. If you're new to Seaside, you may be interested in going to Basic Beliefs. That will be held, I believe, by Jenny Mills, and that is in the Emerson Room at 12:30. Want to learn to become a better communicator? Tara Gardner has Compassionate and Empowering Communication Workshop in the family room. Obviously, she's right there. And, and it's at 1 p.m. The Seaside Endowment Fund. Those of you who know Sandy Atkinson, unfortunately she passed fairly recently, but when she left, she did leave us a fairly large fund, and with that, our board created the Seaside Endowment Fund. If you'd like to contribute and help support Seaside, that's a great way to do it. Now I'd like to invite Bill Siemens up to the mic.
Good morning, everybody. So out of nowhere, Marv, you can go ahead and put that picture up. Out of nowhere, our bike drive's already created 90 bikes, and we're about halfway through, right? And what we discovered just recently along the way was remarkable. We've discovered that out of this giving, we've created opportunities for some of the youngest people donating to really express themselves. This girl here in the middle actually put ribbons on her bike as she gave it to us. And you can see our little trailers and all that. But I wanted to give you all a quick taste of what this is about. So Marv's got a little video for you. There you go. I told you a little taste, did I? Wait a second, we're starting. So, as Gene Houston said Friday night, part of our spiritual development is giving as community. And so I just wanted to share with you what Bet Hoffman said. Now, Bet, and many of you know, she's been a member here a long time, and Bet has contributed 25 bikes on her own. And I said, Bet, how does this happen? I mean, how can you do that? And she goes, I keep asking. So I invite all of you to just check in. Like, are you really pushing out there? Now, this is the holiday season. This is where you create that heart connection that is just, worth everything. So all I ask you to do is keep asking. We got the month of November to blow out our numbers. And thank you to everybody that's donated and helped so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for spearheading that. So if you'd be interested in connecting with more of your Seaside friends during the holidays, I encourage you to go ahead and check out one of the tables that Susan Sullivan is manning out there. She is the volunteer coordinator at Seaside. There's lots of opportunities during the holiday season to get involved on a volunteer basis, and that's a wonderful way to make friends and connect with others. So we are in the midst of a 6-week Passport to Prosperous Living here at Seaside. And you will find an affirmation card in your program, as well as you can find extra passports, photos in the family room afterwards. For more information on all that's going on in Seaside, please see your program. And now I would like to invite everybody to get up and hug at least 3 people.
Good morning, everyone. Let's all stay standing together. We're going to sing a congregational song together. It's called I Trust in God. Get those hands clapping, bodies moving. Here we go. I'm thankful, so grateful.
Fabulous. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you.
Hey, are we going to get a new album out of you someday?
Well, funny you should ask.
Yeah, I'm glad you're laughing.
We're going into the studio next month to do our first album in 10 years.
Well, about time. And we'll be ready for next holiday season, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the gifting season 2020.
Yeah.
But see, it's all about that 2020 vision that's coming up. So you're thinking ahead. You caught it. Hey, good morning, Seaside. Woo! What a joy it is to be here with you today. It is a glorious day. Have you noticed that? It is truly a wonderful time for us to be coming together at Seaside, a thriving spiritual community, inspiring us to live our divinity as our mission, our purpose for being out there. You know what? I just love watching chairs being brought in, that we have filled the place today. That is a great sign. They're still standing up in the family room. It is, I don't know if it's because we have so many here because you got an extra hour of sleep, or if it's because we've got Gene Houston here. So Seaside is a welcoming, affirming community. Wherever you are on your spiritual path, know that you are welcome here. We are happy that you're here, and just know we embrace you. And if you're here for the first time, there's a guest packet to pick up on the way out. It'll tell you more about what's going on, because there is a lot that is always going on this spiritual campus. And so usually this is the point where we tell you to put away your cell phones, but not at Seaside. I invite you to take them out, check in, let all your friends know where you are, because we're live streaming Gene Houston today, and it is going out to our online community. We know you are there. We love you. We know at 11 o'clock, people around the globe come together and they sit down with us here. They do it virtually. We do it regionally, but something magical happens when you come to community, that's for sure. So, and what we're involved in here at Seaside this particular season is a wonderful global journey. We're going to meet some of the great spiritual leaders of our time. You know, we met with the Pope. We had one lady last week who put in the box out there. She said, I knew Seaside was good, but I thought you were going to bring Amma out on the stage for all of us. And so, I mean, it's a good prayer request, but, you know, we do have Gene Houston Day, so that's a good one. But I'll tell you what, Wednesday night when I do the midweek healing ritual, where I'm going to take all of you with me to South Africa, and I'll bring you into the cell where I was sitting there where Nelson Mandela sat out on Robben Island, and what it was like to sit there, and we're going to be working on freeing ourselves from the prison of our mind, and what it was like to stand out on that island and look across Table Mountain Bay, and to see Table Mountain that I had climbed in the distance. And on the east side of it is the Devil's Peak, and on the west side is the Lion's Head. And to see those orographic clouds start to move in, and what that is, it's those south winds that is bringing the moisture out of the sea, that when it hits the cold of the mountain, it begins to form these moving clouds that they call the tablecloth. But I prefer to believe that it's not the clouds, but it's the folklore that says really what it is. It's a smoking competition between the devil and their local pirate, Von Klutz. Anyway, it is today and this week what we're doing is going to Africa. Look at this wonderful table that has been set. Jenny masterfully put together all sorts of fun pieces. You got the Big Five Animal Kingdom going on. You got the Bengals from there. And my giraffe, I picked her up right outside of Kruger National Park. Some locals were carving pieces of wood, and she's not quite steady on her own, not quite American perfect yet, but it's what I like about her. And when I brought her on the plane, they had never seen a giraffe flying, home on a plane before. So I gave them the new experience of Saffron, who I named after my guide's daughter. And then picked this up in a local outdoor bazaar. It's so unique. I'm sure there's not two of these in the world the way that is. And you got some other fun things. You got the Macala. You've got this. Just let's take you somewhere. I could play with this stuff all day long. But Desmond Tutu is the guy we were looking at. And he was the bishop in Cape Town in 1985. He became the Archbishop in 1986, which is the most senior position in the Southern African Anglican community. And he was known for working on collaboration as a type of leadership. He was there to be the first to help introduce women into the priesthood. And in 1990, when then President F.W. de Klerk released that anti-apartheid radical activist by the name of Nelson Mandela, he and Tutu partnered together and began the negotiations to eliminate apartheid. And when Nelson Mandela became the president of this interracial democracy, he appointed Desmond Tutu to be the chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that went on to be a worldwide prototype of how to alleviate some of the most difficult and horrendous situations. We saw moms forgiving the murderers of their children, and that model still lives today in terms of forgiveness. But when you do that, you're not looked upon in the most gracious of ways all the time. And I came across how he was described, and I just want you to know, when you're willing to stand on the edge and take a stance, this is what they could say. This is where I can take you. Tutu, polarized opinion is what began to rouse the notability in his actions. White conservatives who supported apartheid despised him, while many of the white liberals regarded him as too radical. Many of the black radicals accused him of being too moderate and focused on cultivating white goodwill, while the Marxists and the Leninists criticized his anti-communist stance. Though what begins to happen when you do this is you begin to call forward those who resonate with your position. And with that came a widely popular among the South African black majority, and began to be internationally praised for his anti-apartheid activism. He began to be recognized for his work. Awards all over the globe came into him, culminating with the Nobel Peace Prize. So that's what happens when you're willing to take a bold stand. And so the book we're coming from today is called The Book of Joy, and it's put together with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And on the Dalai Lama's 80th birthday, it's like, what do you give the Dalai Lama for his birthday? You know? What he wanted was to sit down with Desmond Tutu, and they wanted to rehash the last 50 years. And reading this book, you feel as if you're sitting in this dialogue between these two great spiritual giants of our time. You can hear His Holiness laughing, guttural sound, oh, and you can just see Desmond Tutu's eyes twinkling and his smile lighting up the room. And so they're talking about compassion at this point. And just a few words, and when I'm done, Victoria Woods is going to step here to center stage and take us to that deeper place with her invocation. And so you can close your eyes now if you'd like and just see yourself sitting in this room with these two great men dialoguing. You're looking in. Our human nature has been distorted, the Archbishop began. I mean, we're actually quite remarkable creatures. In our religions, I am created in the image of God. I am a God carrier. Gene would tell us we're God's seeds. But it's fantastic. I have to be growing in God-likeness in caring for others. I know that each time that I have acted compassionately, I have experienced a joy that is in me that I find in nothing else. And even the cynics will have to admit that it is how we are wired. We're wired to be other-regarding. We shrivel if there's no other. It's really a glorious thing when you say, I will care. I will care for only me. In an extraordinary way, that me begins to shrivel and get smaller and smaller. And you find satisfaction and joy increasingly elusive. And then you want to grab, and you want to try this, and you want to try that. But in the end, you don't find satisfaction.
Good morning. You may continue to have your eyes closed as I invite you to go into the stillness. Oh, how wonderfully glorious it is to be standing in the presence of God. For God is radiating in and through all things at all times in every moment. And within this energy field, there is the life and breath of everything that exists. From the moment of conception to the moment of being to the moment of now. And in this grand and glorious moment, I know that I am radiating within this life stuff that is so undeniably palpable that I breathe it in, uniting with all of God's treasures. How beautiful it is to roam about in this space, to live and move and have my being within the natural world. And as the universe unfolds itself each and every moment, I get to be a part of all of that. And so as we decided to show up today at this sanctuary, this blessed sanctuary, we have the unique gift of experiencing all this. And as Reverend Christian continues to show up each and every week in his vibrant self, we get to revel in that. And on this day, we have another blessing with Jean Houston. So I showed up. We all showed up. For God is, I am, we are. Blessings.
God is so good. God is so good. God is so good. God is so good to me. God is so good. God is so good. God is so good. God is so good to
Thank you, Danielle. That's beautiful. Max, there on the Busendorfer, nice job. Victoria, wonderful cast. Love it. Is James Kaplan here? Here you are. This guy, come on up. I want to have him share a testimonial. He literally got in. He parked his plane last night at 2 a.m. He's a corporate pilot, and he was outside on a ladder working lights, and he was in service, but I like to call him, he's part of the Secret Service. He like gives without recognition. It's really an amazing thing. It's like, how'd that get fixed? Oh, that was James. He's just, and so he was planning to run out to see his mom in Palm Springs this morning. I said, James, come on up, share that story you shared with me. I love you. All right. Morning.
This is pretty cool to see all these people here, too. So this is a nice treat to get to come up and see all of you. Yeah, I was up out on the ladder, and I hear this voice going, hey, James, you're here. Okay, I got you signed up to do the testimonial at the services. So, and I went, So, that's right. That's right. All of the reasons why I can't do it come up immediately, but, you know. I wanted to share with you, I am a member of Seaside, and I'm one of the folks who auto-tides. And I wanted to share a little bit about that. It's a wonderful way to experience what you get back from the law of circulation. At this point in my life right now, I can state that I am making more money than I ever have in my life. And a lot of it came out of a treatment I've been doing out of the work and the teachings and where we operate from with New Thought, which was a job I love, working with people I love working with, that pays abundantly, provides great benefits, allows me to support the people I love, and to continue supporting and being part of Seaside, this spiritual family. And it's not that the monkey mind doesn't come up sometimes about the money and all that stuff, but it's a matter of where I place my attention. Is it on these thoughts, or do I just stop and look at the demonstration in my life? And it really is an amazing place to be in, that we have this space that reminds us who we really are. So I invite you to consider auto-tithing as we come to that time of year again where we will be asked to make that sort of a commitment to support the work that goes on here. Thank you.
Hey, James.
All right. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our guest artist today. He is a beloved and treasured guest artist that has been coming back time and again for many, many years now. I'm sure most of you will recognize him. If you don't, he is all about high vibe music and arts. That's what he's bringing this morning. I promise you he's going to deliver. His voice is amazing. He's an incredible musician. Please give a big Seaside warm welcome to Mr. Ray Davis.
Good morning, Seaside. I bring you greetings from the Agape International Spiritual Center, and specifically from the Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. I got to spend some time with him over this weekend in Sedona at the Celebrate Your Life conference, and so he said to make sure to give his love to Seaside, because he loves this place, he loves Christian, loves all y'all. Well, you know, Michael loves everybody, so... I will deliver that message. That message I will deliver. So this is a song about time. Maybe we'll all forget the future. Maybe we'll all forgive the past. Maybe we'll learn to mind the moment. Is all we ever have. That's all we need. A loner, alone and on the road. He'd only known her for 2 weeks, some 2 years ago. 2 years of crying, of pining for the past. Why did she, why didn't we, why couldn't we have love at last? She was a waitress, waiting and all alone. She remembered like it was yesterday, the traveling man from 2 years ago. Of hoping, of coping with fantasies. When will he return? When if he's the one for me. While she cultivates her mystery and he ruminates in history, the love they seek is beyond both space and time. Maybe we'll all forget the future. Maybe we'll all forget the past. Maybe we'll learn to mind the moment. It's all we ever have. Here comes a worry, there goes my best regret. Will it be or is it not to be? Or must I always remember the thing that I'd rather forget? Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever have the kind of life I've always dreamed. Oh, I dreamed a dream. I can't even get past mistakes that I made in my teens. While I'm terrified of my mystery and mortified by my history, the life I seek has been hiding in plain sight. Maybe we'll all forget the future. Maybe we'll all forget the past. Maybe we'll learn to mind the moment. It's all we ever have. The moment is all we ever have. Mind the moment. This here, this now. Oh, to excavate. Blessings, blessings, seek and find it in the here and now. All the power, all the blessings, blessings. Can I listen to you like your words are treasure? Can I be with myself, no judgment or measure? Can I forget and forgive? Maybe we'll all forget the future. Maybe we'll all forgive the past. Maybe we'll learn to mind the moment. Maybe we'll all forget the future. Maybe we'll all forgive the past. And maybe we'll learn to mind the moment. It's all we ever have. The moment is all we ever have.
Hey! Woo! This is Ray Davis. Woo! Oh, Ray. Wow, man. What a presence. Hey, Ray, you've been talking with Gene. That song couldn't have been any more perfect about the past and the present. And, oh, wow, that's incredible. Hey, we have been on an amazing odyssey with Dr. Jean. Well, I'm not allowed to say Dr. Jean because she says she has so many doctorates, they just all cancel each other. So we have been on an amazing odyssey with Jean that would make Odysseus jealous. We have visited the future and have seen what is possible, and we have gone to the past and we have changed our past. She has stood before us and took us through processes that have assisted individuals to heal chronic diseases like Lyme. She has led this congregation during these last couple days on a journey of dimensional proportions that is out of this world and in this body in time and space. It has been truly incredible. Her mind is amazing. Her longtime friend, Buckminster Fuller, who designed, is actually his last house design is hers that she lives in, says Jean's mind should be considered a national treasure. She has a way of taking her deep knowledge of history and her cultural awareness and the wonderful spirituality and apply it to the human needs. She is just an absolute genius. I shared with you I was in India with Jean, and we were at the Cloud Gange, which is the residence of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and she was staying in the Shonder House, and that is this little boutique hotel nestled in the pines, just a few minutes walk from His Holiness's residence. And there's only 11 rooms. So obviously she has the high consciousness because she got one of those crafted artistic rooms that was created by one of the Tibetan monks, and I had to stay next door. You know? But I'd come down to her place for breakfast, and there was this crowd around her. And what I want you to know is that Jean is even brilliant at breakfast. What comes forth from her is a wisdom that is woven together, a genius that has a way of activating it within others. You know, as Emerson has been called the father of the New Thought movement, well, Jean has for a long time been considered one of the founding pillars of the human potential movement. She is a godmother to us all. Please join me in welcoming Jean Houston.
Well, that is the most extravagant introduction I've ever had in my life. And just to clear it up a little bit, I don't consider myself very smart.
Oh.
No, I mean, truly. I have a level of depth, but I wouldn't say smartness, and a level of comedy. My father was a well-known comedy writer, and he really gave me the announcement of who I am. He said when I was about 5 years old, "Jeannie Pott, you're more fun than a barrel of monkeys." And I've kept that. That's who I am. Thank you. But thank you very much. So things are happening. You're living in the most interesting time in human history. Do you know that? This is grow or die time. I mean, how did you happen to get here into this time, into this age, in this much, I love the Yiddish term, tsuris. Who's Jewish here? You know, tsuris. Oh, so much, many problems. Well, maybe when they were giving out the assignments for the 20th and 21st century, you had just raised your hand to go to the bathroom. They said, you. In the other world. Well, I like to tell a story about, well, what really got me started in this work and also in pursuing Humanity 2.0. What made me do it? I could have been an actor. I grew up in a theatrical family. I would have had a decent career as sort of a person, you know, playing the weird parts. You know, playing one of the wicked witches and Wizard of Oz, that kind of thing. But no, something happened. And it happened when I was 5 years old. Some of you know my mother's name was Maria Annunziata Serafina Graziella Fiorino Perpetua Tadaro, born in Syracuse, Sicily. Well, they came over before World War I in 1914. Anyway, she met Jack Houston of Texas, and they got married. They hated each other's food, and I became something that I'm well known for. I became a decent cook to try to keep them together, her food and his food, in creating chicken fried polenta, you know, that sort of thing. But the only reason they could get married was because my father had to become, my father, who was an agnostic Baptist with the emphasis on agnostic, had to go to religious instruction school and become a Catholic in order to marry my mother. And the priest said, "Oh, Jack," because they were just trading jokes instead of theology, "you're just a natural-born pagan. Here, I'll give you a learner's permit so you can get married. But when any kid comes along, you got to send them to Catholic school." Sure, said my dad. So duly I came along, and they remembered, and I was sent to St. Ephraim's in Brooklyn, New York, where everybody was Sicilian. And it was quite interesting because my dad would gag up my catechism and give me the most interesting questions to ask poor little Sister Teresa in the morning. Like, "Sister Teresa," and she had a lisp, "Yes. Sister Teresa, I counted my ribs, and I counted my friend Joey Mangiameri's ribs, and I counted Denise Canzaneri's ribs, and we got the same number of ribs. And what I want to know, if God made Eve out of Adam's rib, how come 1, 2, 3, and every little child raised their undershirt, and we proved that we had the same number of ribs. That was just for starters. And then it went on. "Sister Teresa," "Yes. When Jesus rose, was that because God filled him full of helium?" "Sister Teresa, when Ezekiel saw the wheel, was he drunk?" Now we know it was probably a flying saucer, but we don't go there. And then the question, "Why own?" that haunts the mind of every Catholic child. And I checked it out with Joey Mangiabelis that I've always wondered about, and with Denise Canzaneri. "Oh, please ask that. I think about this all the time." Okay. "Sister Teresa," and this time the Mother Superior came to visit. "Yes. Did Jesus ever have to go to the bathroom?" That broke the whole class down, and the Mother Superior ran out of the room. And Sister Teresa was so angry by this time, she got a sheet of oak tag and she tacked it up, and in India ink she wrote, "Jean Houston's Years in Purgatory." Every time I asked one of these questions, big X, each X was generally about 1,000,000 years. At the end of the first grade, when I had just turned 6, she counted them up for me as my birthday present. 300 million years in purgatory. I ran home, and my dad was writing away, typing away on his jokes, and I said, "Daddy, you caused me to have 300 million years in purgatory." He says, "Hot dog, that's real fun." He says, "You keep that kind of thing up, I'll put you on the air opposite Henny Youngman." And I said, "Daddy, you don't understand. 300 million years. It was all because of these questions." And my father is hysterical with laughing. And he picks me up on his shoulders, and he goes out running past the Sicilian neighbors, and saying, "Purgatory, purgatory, purgatory, purgatory. Here comes the purgatory special, purgatory, purgatory, purgatory." And the Sicilian neighbors raise their windows. "Hey, there goes a crazy Jack, watch out, you will kill a bambino." Purgatory, purgatory, purgatory. And I said, "Where are we going, Daddy?" He says, "We're going to steal the movie, honey pot. You're going to see what the real saints did." And he took me to this great movie playing at the time called The Song of Bernadette. Ooh. And we sat there, and I was in this incredible ecstasy of religious excitement, and especially when the little Bernadette saw the Virgin Mary in the grotto. And everybody around me was crossing themselves and saying, old lady with lots of medals on, "Oh, Santa Regina, Santa, Santa Regina," when suddenly this horrible, horrible whinnying, like mule-like laugh began to fill the whole theater. And I was so worried, and I looked, and it was coming from my father, who was in complete hysterics and could not stop. I said, "Daddy, stop. This is the holy part." He said, "Yeah, but you know who's up there playing the Virgin Mary?" "Linda. I met her in that party last year in Beverly Hills. Hot dog, I told her she'd go far. And he seemed a rather unlikely person to be playing the Virgin Mary, and he just couldn't stop. Yeah, this is showbiz. Anyway, so I said, Daddy, go to the bathroom, get out of here, because the Sicilians were making these kind of remarks and saying, Diabolo, Diabolo, Diabolo. So he went to the bathroom and he came back and he was pretty good. A few snorts to remind us of his true feelings. And then going home, he said, come on, you mad at me? Yes. Well, where are you going? Daddy, I don't want to tell you where I'm going. Why? Because you'd laugh at me. No, I promise I won't laugh. No, Daddy, you can't help yourself. Where are you going? I'm going to see the Virgin Mary. You are. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a Jim Dandy idea. I'll go with you. Grabbed me by the hand, began to, skip with me down, pulling me along a lot down the street, singing, we're off to see the Virgin, the wonderful Virgin of Lourdes will join the boards. It just went on and on. I said, Dad, don't follow me, please. And I ran home. This is the most important thing in my life. And I ran up to the second floor where we had a closet that we had no clothes because Chicky, our wonderful dog, had just had 9 puppies and they were in the closet. And I thought, oh boy, I'm going to do something I don't want the Virgin Mary to step on. So I would move them away, and Chicky gave me a sour look. And I thought, boy, it really looks like the grotto. And I crossed myself and I said, oh, Virgin Mary, please, please, please show up in the closet like you did at the grotto for Bernadette. I'll give up candy for a week. Good Catholic, quid pro quo. So you show up. I'll count to 1 to 10. You be there. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 10. No Virgin Mary. Chicky has brought several pups back into the closet. Virgin Mary, I'll give up all candy. I'll give up everything I like. I'll just keep broccoli, which I hate. I'm going to count to 27, and you be there, okay? 27. Open my eyes. No Virgin Mary. I counted to higher numbers. I gave up everything, as far as I can remember. And finally, I said, Virgin Mary, maybe you don't know where I live. It's 1404 Avenue O, and Etta Canzaneri is jumping rope downstairs. And please, please, please come. And I closed my eyes, really sure she would, and I counted to like 167, something like that. Opened my eyes. Every pup is back in the closet. No Virgin Mary. And I gave up. I just let go of everything. I had nothing in me. And I went and sat by the bay window, which looked down on the backyard, where my grandfather, Prospero Tadero, had put a smudge pot underneath the fig trees to make them grow in Brooklyn, And, oh, by the way, just remembering him, he knew of his feet only by rumor, because his stomach began from there. He used to buy pizzas by the stack, I remember. But anyway, so nothing in my mind, and suddenly it happened. I did not see or hear anything different. All I can tell you is that the world moved into meaning. And I knew absolutely that I and my grandfather, Prospero, and there was a plane in the sky. And I remembered a little boy in Kansas who waved at me when the train went by. And suddenly my Mary Jane shoes and the autistic man who sold comic books outside of Bloomingdale's. And all of reality was there. Old ladies knitting on the stoops in Brooklyn. The fish in Sheepshead Bay. Everything was there. Everything. And it was all interrelated. And it was so very, very good. And I just sort of bloomed with awakening and deep happiness. And even my idea of the Virgin Mary was part of it too. I just didn't see her. And this went on for an eternity. On and on and on and on and on through time and space. Actually, it could have been only less than a minute. Actually, much less than a minute, because the plane moved from here to here in the sky. And the joy was so great. It was years later when I could read Dante, in the original, the Divine Comedy, the great closing words, del riso dell'universo, the joy that spins the universe. And that's what it was. And it stayed with me throughout my life. I've never had another experience like that. I know they call me a mystic, you know, but that was it. And it was not too long after that my dad was on, he was a writer for the Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy show. Do any of you remember? Anybody? Okay, Charlie McCarthy, the puppet, you know, dummy. And he said, "Hey, kiddo, you want to come? I got to deliver a script." And I said, "Oh yeah, Daddy, let's go." And I was thinking about my father. He took me everywhere, you know. And we came in and we saw Edgar Bergen with Charlie McCarthy talking to him. Was he rehearsing? It didn't sound like rehearsing. He was asking Charlie ultimate questions. Charlie, what is the nature of love? Charlie, what is beyond the beyond? Charlie, what does it mean to truly know something? I mean, extraordinary questions. And this little dummy was answering, "Well, Bergen," and coming out with these phenomenal, brilliantly crafted answers. And my father was so stunned, the agnostic Baptist, you know. He said, "I didn't write that stuff." But Bergen would go, and then he saw us. He said, "Oh, hello, Jack. Hi, Jean. You caught us." "Yeah, Ed," said my dad. "What are you doing?" "Well, I'm talking to Charlie. He's the wisest person I know." "Oh, come on, Ed. That's just you, your mind coming out of that cockamamie piece of wood." No, Jack, it is so much more than anything I know. And I could feel the tingle in the back of my neck because I knew I had walked into my future in my life of the so much more than one could ever know. And my life then proceeded that way with one very strange, evocative experience after another. Many of you may know that I've met, well, they say almost everybody. Remember Joe Schlockwitz? Of course I do. I know I used to play tennis with him. Anyway, you name anybody, chances are I've met them, including a lot of people that you think are famous. But it wasn't that. It was just like the universe saw this and said, "Okay, kiddo, you're a live one. We're going to give you a lot of experiences, mostly good, some really miserable." Remember when I was on the front page of every newspaper in the world for something that never happened? We won't go there. Anyway, so I then went on and made a study of human capacities, human potentials. It took me all over the United States and to date 109 countries, working with the United Nations and various agencies of the UN, Institute of Cultural Affairs, and many others. And even into the Peace Corps. And that was something, because I discovered things were going very badly. You had these fine, young 22-year-olds full of dedication who were saying, in the middle of Africa, "Hello there, my little brown brother. Let me show you the American way of doing things." Whoop, there goes 3,000 years of culture out the window. I stopped that and had people really learn to have deep sensitivity to the genius, the beauty, the brilliance of the other. Anyway, it went on, helping cultures preserve and keep their culture in the face of so much, global change, helping women rise to some order of a higher partnership with men all over, because I knew that was coming, and so many things, thousands of things, helping the years of the sustainable development, etc. So I've been all over the place, and I met everybody too. I know you. Hey. Anyway, but this was really brought on by this experience, this great mystical experience, where I admitted that we were part of everybody else. And it was a great and glorious unity you know, the great unity of love and being. And so, in exploring mysticism, I found something very interesting, and that is that the spiritual quest is probably the greatest quest that exists for the acceleration of evolutionary enhancement. It's non-dual in nature. It's all about a great oneness. And through it, we tap into the wider physical, mental, emotional systems, thereby gaining entrance into what I believe is the next stage of our unfolding, both individually and collectively. So I am here in these two worlds. In one, there's my friends and relatives watching television, and the real estate of their brains being filled with corruption. And then there's me out there on these frontiers finding a very different story is going on. A momentum of spiritual genius is moving through the world at this time. We are in a state of what is technically called speciation. Speciation, when you study the evolutionary record, you've got the fossils and you see same old, same old, same old, same old, and then suddenly, whoop, and it grows. But it almost always, and this is both for the human history as well as other species, there's always a long period of breakdown, of trying to move out of an outmoded situation, and a catharsis of all the old ways of being. You know, and this is across the genders as well, of course. And so everything is shifting, but if you listen very closely and watch, you find out that magnificent things are being gestated in the womb of preparatory time, and new ways of being and doing are coming forth. And that's where I live. I also live in situations where trying to help kids who are addicted. This is one of the biggest things at all. And one of the reasons they're addicted is not just that they live on screens and thus don't have too much human-to-human relationships. It's something much, much more. They don't have puberty rights. What? Since time immemorial, young people have had incredible rituals of releasing a lot of the old aspects of childhood, and with powerful rites and rituals and being sent off to learn all kinds of things like an outward bound types of things, they come back pretty improved and grown up young women and men. So I've sent hundreds of kids off on those, and most of them come back and they're not addicted anymore. I mean, just things like that that are so simple, and nobody studies history, so they don't know that this is part of what we need. Ritual comes from the Sanskrit, rita, which means art, discipline, the dance, that which illumines our transitions. The beauty of this wonderful, wonderful spiritual center is it's loaded with rituals. Rituals of death, of rebirth, of becoming, of transformation. Yes? So that you are being honored for the release of old ways and the access and celebration of new ways. So this has got to happen with the kids. First time in human history that we have not had ritual of transition. Now, when you look at the mystic path as a way of transmission and transformation, as I say, I have not seen any more practical, powerful, and evolutionary practice than this path. And when I have studied or talked with seekers who've had this experience, they have told me of a joy that passes understanding, of an immense surge of creativity, of an instant uprush of kindness and tolerance that makes them impassioned champions for the betterment of all, bridge builders, magnets for solutions, peacemakers, pathfinders, best of all, people feel nourished when they are around them. Everyone they touch becomes more because they themselves are more. And because we have needed the changes and accelerations of our time to put the flame under the crucible of becoming, it's because such inward alchemy needs to take place. Mysticism always arises during times of intense change and stress. And you add the sufficiency of current shadows and the breakdown of all certainties, and we have the ingredients for the current universal pursuit of spiritual realities. Because we live in a time where more and more history is happening faster and faster than ever before, And so we really are in a time of, how to put it? It's like we're attending a wake for a way of being that is leaving us. Now, many have written about the mystic path. The one that I find the most valuable was a book written in 1911 by Evelyn Underhill. Do any of you know the book? It's called Mysticism. And therein she speaks of the 8 stages of the mystical path. Now, she wrote in 1911, and I'm going to tell you from my experience what I find is really true and still tremendously relevant for our time. Now, the first stage is called awakening. It's what happened to me. That's why I told that story. You wake up. You wake up to the glory and the astonishment of being and beauty. I'm alive. I've got things. Woo! You know. Do any of you ever celebrate the fact of your life, regardless of how downcast you may feel at the moment? Don't worry, I'll get there. But the sheer thing of awakening, you wake up, something quickens. It is as if you are filled with evolutionary juices. It is as if the very universe itself is part of you. And that's also part of the collective awakening, by the way. What has happened in our time that has changed the story? Quantum physics and the discovery that the nature of everything, the nature of God, the nature of the universe is consciousness. And when we learn to tune our body-mind system to this great outpouring of beingness, of consciousness, we begin to evolve. It's as simple as that. We really do. And that's part of the awakening. The great paradox of our time. Here we are as God's seeds in this great pleroma of beingness that is the final, ultimate, once and future oneness of being. And you can participate in it, and boy, do you become smart when you do. Because you have access to what? All time, all space, all knowledge, all possibility. And that's some of the things we're doing in our workshop while we're here. Now, so that is the first part, awakening. And the second stage of the experience is called purgation or purification. Here one says, uh-oh, you know, I've really been a lousy bum. Look what I did. Ooh, time to purify. Do you know? And that's just you rid yourself of the veils and obstructions of the ordinary, unexamined life that kept you from the knowledge that you gained from awakening. You are releasing yourself from old ways of being. You recover a higher innocence. Now, in the traditional form, it can take the pursuit of very difficult asceticisms, like Buddha. When Buddha decided he better start purifying, what did he do? He walked in a squat for miles. He ate noxious foods and very little food at all. So he pressed his belly button, as he said, and he felt his backbone. That's how skinny he got. He lay on corpses. It was his sleeping. It goes on, and it's one thing is worse than the other. And he said, guess what? Nothing came. I was waiting. Nothing happened. And he was practically dead, in fact, virtually dead. And he fell into a stream. The stream washed over. He said, I've only got this body to find my enlightenment. I must find a new way. And a lady brought him curds, dairy, and he gradually came back. And he sat under a tree, probably for a long time, waiting in silence till the illumination and the enlightenment happened, as it did. And he became the Buddha. Gautama Siddhartha became the Buddha. Now, I'm not suggesting walking in a squat, unless it's part of your present health program. But, and certainly not just eating one little piece of fruit a day, unless it's part of some strange program that you become part of, but we won't go there. But no. One of the best ways is to recall your life in such a way of saying, because I have suffered, I now am able to see you in a new way. Because I have suffered, I have a new kind of spiritual energy to go out and commit to, well, sometimes called restorative justice. But it's also a form of making the world, wherever you are, a goodness in whatever way you can. And I find that that is probably one of the best ways. And not just going over and over and over the naughty things that you did. Because that's not going to take you very far. Just to more imaginative naughty things. And since all the naughty things are out there on the front pages of everything to see, you know, you get it that way. But at the same time, in this place of purification, I have a friend who in Canada, she really had something to have restorative justice about. She climbed a tree, a very, very great tree that was going to be taken down by the forest companies, the corporate ones. And she climbed way up 50 feet and more. And she lived there for weeks in such a way. And she wrote poetry and she wrote letters, but she lived there. And it stopped the company there in the tree, and the rest of the forest was saved. I mean, that's an example. But it can be simple acts of kindness. And what it does is, in some cases, it washes away the memories, but more often what it does is it adds to the memory of your goodness that you can focus on, you see. That's purification. And the third path is called illumination. One is illumined in the light. And remember, we're made out of light. We are frozen light. You are made out of light. The light of bliss, often experienced as actual light, literally pervades everything. You see, suddenly you see beauty and meaning and pattern everywhere, and yet you remain who you are, and you can still chop wood and carry water and do your job. So the stage of illumination is also, it's really fascinating, it's also one that many artists, actors, writers, visionaries, scientists, creative people are blessed to access from time to time. And often they write accounts of consciousness beyond space-time, because if we're made out of light, guess what everything else is made out of too? Light. So you can go there almost like a great hologram, you know, you're here, zzz, but you're also related to zzz, and suddenly the world, the universe in its muchness comes, you know, rushing forward, so delighted that you are now awake and full of light, and here comes what? Enormous creativity. Enormous creativity. As the all-pervading essence of what everything is about. Described as the light radiated from no direction, it was a glowing universal fact, bathing everything in its soft radiance, so that the sharp shadows and the dark edges which define objects on earth was missing. Everything glowed with its own light and was lighted by this circumambient splendor. Now, what also happens at this point is that even our imagination is transcended by the universe in its quantum union, unitary aspect. And we find that we are no longer simply imaginative, but imaginal. We are in the quantum hollow field of consciousness. We are no longer caught as encapsulated bags of skin dragging around a dreary little ego. It's true. We seemingly access the blueprints, the guidance, the forms, the patterns of what can up to now has only been imagined. What are these states? They are very different from the usual conditioned states of worry, anxiety, the falling back to old habit thoughts and ideas, and frankly, the using of modes and thoughts and feelings that no longer serve either a personal evolutionary agenda or any kind of agenda at all. And having studied the minds of mystics, visionaries, high creatives, I find that these visionary adepts are, we would say, hacking into their own reality to get beyond the serial monotony of same old, same old. Now, the fourth stage is called voices and visions. One sees, one hears, one senses with much more than 5 senses. What an amplitude of reality, including things that one never has seen before, such as, and you can tell me if any of you have seen this. You can raise your hand if you have. Beings of different dimensions, angels, archetypes, numinous borderline persons, beings that seem to bring a higher pattern in for life and understanding reality. You just discover that you live in a larger non-dual reality, and the many unseen worlds that coexist with our physical existence become apparent, whether as magus or mystic or shaman or sage. The self, yourself, within its own unbounded nature, is in some sense identical to quantum mind, and therefore has many more capacities than those operating in local consciousness. And working with these concepts, both spiritual and scientific, is what I do. I enable students to do and be and create in ways that are suggested of much higher levels of human accomplishment. They begin to speciate, you see. So yes, those of you who've been in our coursework in the last couple of days, and some of you want to come, can come this afternoon. Yes, I taught you how to use time differently, and I have a great deal of time in a short period of time, and to go around the world. Or write a book. You haven't done that yet, but you could. Or do some, finish your damn dissertation. Sorry, I didn't mean to use that word, but I've had too much experience with it, and that's what it is. Ninth circle of hell. Anyway. But all these things, and to break through the categories of time and discover yourself strained by the tensions of eternity itself. Eternity is there for you. Timeless time. Even to go back in time and change a small event to a positive one that then has tremendous repercussions in your life. Not as an imaginative exercise, but as a reconstructing a time. So that it finds in many cases, even your relatives who may have been there at that small event begin to remember the re-remembered and recreated event, and have forgotten the so-called thing that happened. Now, this isn't for big traumas, it's just for little things. But it can make you enormously creative, and that's some things we show about. The fifth stage is called introversion. Underhill calls it introversion, which includes all of the exploration of the different ways of reaching the source through what? Meditation, yoga, contemplation, prayer. It's and. The turning to the inner fire, the inner life. And nowadays you can employ some of the vast resources of spiritual technology to journey inward to meet and receive reality in its fullness. And it results in daily life as spiritual exercise, bringing the inner and the outer together in a new way. And it also takes the form of raising one's vibration to the frequency domain beyond the space-time dimension. The sixth stage is called ecstasy and rapture. And here the divine presence meets the prepared body, mind, and emotions and the psyche of the mystic, which cleared of the things that keep reality at bay, now can ecstatically receive the one. You laugh and laugh, everything is funny. And it's the art and science of happiness. And of course, it is something that is natural to us. You all laugh. Have you ever just laughed and laughed and laughed? But laugh with your arms open and receive happiness. The abundance of being pours in, and it's very, very funny. It's better than abundance is a poor English word. My Sicilian grandmother had the word for it. Abundanza. Abundanza. It really, the reality pours in. You know, two of the happiest people that I have known, happy in different ways. I used to know dear old Mother Teresa, and she was something else again. And we got to know each other so I could ask her an embarrassing question. Mother, why is it that you're so successful? I mean, you can do things that the Red Cross can't do. I mean, I saw a leper come to you, and he said, Mother, please, I don't just want to be a leper, I want to have a profession. And you helped him find a way of life, making a living. And then I see you take care of these day-old childs and children, and you give them a life in which they are educated, they are nourished. I mean, I see you do impossible things. Why is it that you can do all this? And she said to me, grinning happily at me, my dear, she's this tall, it's because I'm so deeply in love. I said, what? Yes, I'm deeply in love. Would you mind telling me who you're in love with? Not at all. I'm in love with Jesus. I'm married to Jesus. I said, oh, of course you are. All nuns are. She said, no, you don't understand. I really am. And I'm in such a state of loving with my beloved that I see my beloved everywhere. I see my beloved in the day-old child. I see my beloved in the leper. I see my beloved in the poor, particularly. And I find I cannot do enough for my beloved, and perhaps that's why my beloved cannot do enough for me, and that's why I can do all these things. So she was there with the beloved. I wrote a book about this once called The Search for the Beloved, and how many of these mystics and regular folks have a relationship to a spiritual beloved, that in that relationship lots of things change. Is that familiar to any of you? And often the physical beloved, not every case, but shows up as a result of being in a relationship to the spiritual beloved. So that's part of it, certainly. And then there's dear old Dalai Lama. Kundrin, holiness. Kundrin is good. Your people are in our diaspora throughout the world. The Chinese are going in and breaking up the lamaseries. Why are you so happy? Oh, it's because every day I get in touch with Chenzerik, Avalokitesvara, yoga, deity of compassion. I practice deity yoga. I become Chenzerik. I put on in my mind the clothes, the different symbols. I become Chenzerik. I look out in the world. I'm happy, happy, happy. Wearing God clothes, God soul, God mind within his own tradition of Avalokitesvara, Chenzerik. So it's fascinating what happens in these states. Now, after all this joy and bliss comes the seventh stage, what is termed the dark night of the soul, obeying the dictum that what goes up must come down. And suddenly the joy is gone, the divine lover is absent, God is hidden, and one is literally bereft of everything, and you think everybody dislikes you, including your own dog. Well, maybe not quite that far, but anyway. And here one faces the remaining shadows of old forms and habits of the lesser life, preparing one to become available to human 2.0, the final stage. And what happens, I find, is that your local conscious life is shut down for a while. So it seems to be looking like gray stage sets. It's shut down so that the regenesis, the recreation can go on inside of you without you trying to stop it. And I've seen this is true in many, many cases. There's something else, this deeper life saying, you've come this far. Now don't watch, because regeneration, speciation is happening. And then this leads to the final stage, the glorious one, the great unity, the unity of life. And at this stage, one exists in a state of union with the one reality most of the time. You live in a paradox. You're both yourself and you're God. You're both yourself and the whole blooming universe. And for those who enter this state, it seems as if nothing is impossible. Indeed, everything becomes possible. You become world changers and world servers. People feel pulsed around you to new ways of being. You don't even have to say anything. You become powers for life, centers for energy, partners and guides for spiritual vitality in other beings. You glow, and you set others glowing. You are force fields, and to be in your field is to be set glowing. You are no longer plain old human beings. As you have known them, you have become a luminous center for life and transformation. So what is it about? There's a great poem in Christopher Fry's play, A Sleep of Prisoners, that really tells it like it is. It goes, I always use this. The human heart can go to the lengths of God. Dark and cold we may be, but this is no winter now. The frozen misery of centuries cracks, breaks, begins to move. The thunder is the thunder of the flow, the thaw, the upstart spring. Oh, thank God, our time is now. When wrong comes up to meet us everywhere, never to leave us till we take the longest stride of soul folk ever took. Affairs are now soul size. The enterprise is exploration into God. What are you making for? It takes so many thousand years to wake. But will you wake? For pity's sake.
This is Gene Houston. Woo, 2.0. My goodness. Just wonderful. Fabulous. Wow, wow, wow. Woo, wow, 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 wow. That was amazing. Ray, got another one for us? Make that Paul Lloyd Warner Busendorfer play magic sounds.
Every Jewish prayer begins with Baruch Atah Adonai. One way of translating that would be Holy One, holy are you, O living one. Baruch Atah Adonai. This is a song of adoration. Okay, I got to tell you, it's absolutely brand new. As new as they come. And it is called My One. From the fading light of the evening to the growing glow of the day, I can perfectly held in your hands, my one. And as the sun ascends to its glory and in beauty gives its rays, I stay surrounded. For in you I live, move, have my being. Do I love you, my one I do. There is none to love but you. There is nothing that can undo my love for you, my one. If I feel afraid for my future, or believe that no one really cares, still I'm perfectly held in your hands, my one. So whether I arise in bright ecstasy or fall in dark despair, I stay surrounded.
Ray Davis. That is Ray Davis expressing as the one. My goodness. And I don't know if you've seen, he's got a commercial right now running in Europe with Brad Pitt. Do you know how lucky Brad Pitt is to be in a commercial with Ray Davis? How fun. Ray Davis just blessing our, gracing our stage for sure. Jean has on her website a wonderful line that says, in our time, we have come to the stage where the real work of humanity begins. It's a profound statement. And so what I want to do to help support that is I want all of us to take today's message and to share that. So we are gifting all of you today's message. All you need to do is go to the podcast, joyous podcast you find on the inside of the program, and download this message and share it. I want you to share it, and I want you to have it on your iPhone, your iPad, your iPod, so it becomes part of your greater I am as you are in this world, because humanity needs this message at this time, and you're the deliverer of that. Will you take this message as a gift out to the world? You can also live stream it and watch her too. That's available too. But anyway, this is the time of our service where we pause every week to participate in supporting this wonderful expression of God in the world as known as Seaside, where Seaside is that wonderful conduit inspiring people to live their divinity. And as you give, it comes back. It's not why you do it, but rather that is the way it works. You get to be the activity that God is having. And so I invite you to listen to your heart and your soul as you take your gift from your heart. And I want to invite our ushers and greeters to come forward as we do take this gift. And I want to say thank you to this wonderful group who is participating. I want to say thank you to our friends at home that are watching, our whole virtual community. This is the moment you press that donate button on your website and know that we're here for your prayer requests. We know you are there. Let us participate in supporting your spiritual unfoldment, because we are operating not only in physical reality time, but in a virtual time, and we want to support you as we support all of us. And so I invite you just to listen to the stirring in your soul as I share this prayer of gratitude with the most generous of spiritual communities, that this truly is a holy moment, a blessed moment, where the fullness of God expresses through each and every one of us, enriching our experiences as it travels through and passes through our experience, where we become that wonderful vortex of that divine that comes from the wellspring of being, bringing the richness and the fullness, purging out anything unlike itself, and remaining is this clear conduit, this clear channel of that infinite that is passing into this relevant world through each of our experience. So being that activity, the generous expression of God, we find a richness, a blessing, a joy, a sense of ease, a sense of peace, a sense of security, knowing that which we're playing with is omnipresent and inexhaustible, and living with that joyous exuberance of the divine expressing. We find everywhere we touch is blessed. We live in the richness and the glory and the grace of God as we walk through this world, knowing that we are supported every step of the way, because as Ray sang, we are that one expressing here and now. So with joy, we share this gift, and with joy, we become the recipients of that God's grace. And so it is. Amen. And together, let us share this affirmation of abundance, which is, Spirit continues to bless my world. Gratefully, I live as the giving expression of Spirit, opening the floodgates of the affluent flow of greater good as my life now. my guys from Seaside. I love them so much. It is the best music you can find anywhere in San Diego, right here on our stage. And you guys create that. And so as I stand before this bounty that is overflowing with love and joy, it is received with that kind of consciousness. It is taken care of with good stewardship and is put forth back into the flow, bringing the blessings and the joy and the love to everyone it comes in contact. For what I know is the giver is blessed and enriched, and I can assure you the receiver truly is empowered to do that for which they have been called to do, to answer the vision of God, to bring forth that deeper understanding and connectedness with one's divinity. So grateful to know good's going on right here, right now, that each of us is that wonderful vortex of prospering expression of the divine. We say thank you, Father, Mother, God, for this opportunity. So it is. Amen. Hey, this is John, one of your board members here from Seaside, taking good care of us, for sure. Ray, oh my goodness, over the top. Love that new song. Glad you debuted it right here on this Seaside stage. And then we have got Danielle coming out with a new CD with the Mighty Untouchables. Very exciting. Hey, we'll see you next week for Pledge Sunday. Want some extra music out of you. Start thinking. Gene, you are wonderful. You're fabulous. You're a gift to humanity. You're a blessing. Just thank you. And I want you to know the first service has charged the desk of tickets so much that we have decided that it's okay to open up ticket sales to be part of your workshop this afternoon. And so we're excited to say there's a few seats that are going to be made available, which was not the intention, but there's such a strong desire. And if for some reason someone can't make it this afternoon, Jean has a mailing list. You can go put your name on that. You can be in contact, and she has a very significant gift that she would like to share with you if you put your name on her list and be part of that. So plan to stick around for lunch afterwards. We're having lunch. It's available for purchase. Also, Ginny, who created this wonderful stage set. Ginny, I don't know if you're in the room, but there you are. It is gorgeous. It is inspiring. Leave it up all week. I'll use it Wednesday night for our midweek healing ritual. Okay, but Ginny teaches the basics, so grab some lunch, listen to the basics of our philosophy. We got Tara doing compassion and communication. All this is going on. So in about 45 minutes, you can come be part of Jean's afternoon workshop. So guys in the back, thank you very much. Ed on the sound, Marv on the visuals, wonderful camera crew, those that are in the editing booth doing the switching, we thank you. Bless you all for this, making today such a special treat that someone of the magnitude and consciousness of Gene Houston would like to visit us on a Sunday morning and share that wisdom. This is your creation. This is your consciousness. And just thank you so much for making Seaside one of those viable vortexes. It is good. Look at the program. There's a lot going on. Right afterwards, we have the Harmony Harvest. People from our community have brought the fruit, the figs, the pomegranates, the citrus, the pears, sitting out on the table. Help yourself. Any gift you leave for that, it's going to go to our junior church program and our teens camp. So that's going on. And Bill, I don't know if you're... Bikes, oh my goodness, your goal's 200. You got 90 of them already. It's only the beginning of November. Keep asking. That was wonderful. Lots in the program, read it. But I see our children. I've got to ask them something. Any of you have something special you'd like to share with us here this morning? Yes.
We said what we thought about when we heard the words joy and spirit.
And what did you think about?
Laughter.
Oh, do you know we were talking about laughter too? We were actually laughing. Hey, Ramon. You got anything to share? Hey, what's up?
Yeah, we made some joy love jars. We put some stuff in it. So we put some decorations in it, and we got to decorate the outside too.
Wow, looks like a jar of joy and love. You want to share something? No. Want to say hi to anybody?
Hi.
Hey, all right. Hey, I like your kicks, man. I want a pair of those for sure. Very nice. Hey, let's say together our affirmation for our children, which is, we see you, we love you, and we support you in your magnificence. Okay, I want to pray. Healing is the thrust of this movement since its conception. It is beyond just mind. It is the experience of the presence. I invite any of our religious science practitioners to stand and all of us to feel this upliftment of the divine. For this whole morning is moving to this mystical moment of the divine realization of that which is infinite. that which is ineffable. For truly there is a power and a presence that birthed us into expression. I invite you just to feel that divine touch and that wonderful expression of God that moves in this moment. For the grace of God is here. You feel it? Allow your sense to be touched by that inner emotion and that movement with a greater realization. For we are that one. Quantumly, we're all parts of that seed, that quantum soup, that infinite expression, that life force, that intelligence, that all-animating life. Feel it and sense it. And truly, it's in this sense of grace that touches you in this moment. It's God. And in this sense, healing happens. Not because I need to tell the infinite intelligence that guides it all what to do, but because I have become receptive to the infinite wisdom that guides the ages. The multidimensional expression of the omnipresence has its way through the vortex of our being, and in that motion it purges out anything unlike itself, and what remains is a sense of wholeness and well-being. There is a repatterning of every cell, every tissue, every organ, every fiber of the physical being. There is a remembering, a realigning, a refreshing, a re-knowing the truth that this body is the temple of God's and it knows how to heal itself. So I get my little mindedness out of the way and I become that wonderful vortex of the infinite intelligence expression that has a purpose for each and every one. And I know right now that we find that stirring of that dharma, that right path, that life path, that we have come into this world and we find a new courageousness, a bodaciousness, to be tenacious in this wonderful jubilation of the revelation of being that we have remembered in this moment that cannot help but to just neutralize anything that does not belong in the magnificence of the self-expression. And it is in this the relationships become just divine and magical and juicy and wonderful. The intimacy and honesty and integrity is expressed with the friends and the family and the partners and the relationships and the business world, that each of us begins to own the magnificent spiritual leadership we have been called to the world for a time such as this. Something profound is going on right here in this room. Can you feel that? Can you feel this? Say yes to that which wants to express as your life in this moment. I get myself out of the way and I stand with a sense of gratitude for the good that is unfolding right here. Knowing every prayer request that has been brought forth to this community is now fulfilled. For our beloved Elaine Goldsmith, knowing that right where she is, the presence of God is healing that body. That Seaside is a growing, thriving spiritual community, a light into this world that's making a positive difference in our individual lives. For the members here are moving, I know, to a greater conscious connection with the infinite source. Standing in the grace with gratitude, not to anyone or anything, just living with a sense of thanksgiving and appreciation for that which is. I come to recognize that which is what I am, for I am the great I am that is expressing in this moment, and so I let go to this. I trust this. I don't need to dig it up. I just allow that which is to be as my experience in this moment with an unshakable conviction and a deep faith. I am able to just allow Spirit to have its way without my interference in my life, in the world in which I walk. And so it is.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you've got to let it go. And this is what you've got to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Said I release and I
So on your postcard from South Africa, it says, I live in lasting joy. Hey, let's say that together. I live in lasting joy. Touch your heart and say that again. I live in lasting joy. One more like it's your truth. Come on. I live in lasting joy. And our song of grace.
I'm living in peace. I'm living my life for what I believe. Through joys and through fears, in this world I walk. God's grace shines on me, and it shines on us all. We are living in grace. We are living in grace. We are living in grace. We're living in love, we're living in peace. United we stand as one family. We honor all truth as together we walk. God's grace moves through me and it moves through us all. We are living